How's it going? So today we're gonna have a look at Neurotic's video on why Fantastic Four was doomed to fail. I mean, I think everybody knows now that Marvel and really Hollywood entertainment as a whole has not been great for various reasons. But yeah, I personally didn't bother watching Fantastic Four, even though I've heard a lot of good things about the film. I'm just over movies in general. Like current movies. Like it just hasn't been the same. And I've watched a lot of people like Tyrone Magnus, Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker. I know a lot of people don't mess with those people because they do talk a lot about they, as people would say, they declare things woke a lot of the times. And so I feel like a lot of people get turned on by that, turned off by that, not turned on, what the hell? Turned off by that, right? So a lot of people don't seem to respect people like that, which I understand, but at the same time, they are kind of right. Like a lot of things that we've been seeing, like for an example, what happened with Furiosa, like a lot of people didn't bother watching that film because a lot of people were just sick of girl boss films that we've been getting recently. And so people didn't give that a chance, despite many people saying that it was actually pretty good. Same thing with this year, Ballerina. People didn't mess with that film because, again, had a thought that it would have been about a girl boss who's better than John Wick in every single manner. But I saw one of the reviews. I think it was Tyrone Magnus. He mentioned that she wasn't a girl boss and that um when when her and John Wick were fighting, John Wick was beating her with ease, and she had to use a lot of weapons to even try to get an advantage. So like, you get what I'm saying? Like they did this to themselves. So like they have no one to blame but themselves. So yeah, like, I, and the thing is, even though there are some things that Critical Drinker and Neurotic and Tyrone, there are things that they say that are a little overboard. I do agree with the majority of the things they have to say because I've I've noticed, especially with Tyrone Magnus, I've been watching him for years. We both seem to have a lot of similar taste in film and like movies and stuff. So that's why I do tend to agree with him on a lot of things because we have similar tastes. And so I trust him. I trust his reviews over anyone else's, and even Jeremy Johns as well. I also watch Jeremy Johns not religiously as much as I used to, but I feel like we have similar likes and dislikes with films. So yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a look at this video from Neurotic. I have no idea what this is all about. I mean, I have an idea what it might entail, but I mean, to put it simply, I do think that the reason why they're not making the money that they're supposed to make is the simple fact that they've destroyed their brand. I mean, they just keep producing a lot of mid movies and trash films. I mean, Thunderbolts, for instance, I know a lot of people liked it. I personally didn't like it. Now, granted, I haven't watched it, but like I said, I do tend to have similar tastes to what Tyrone Magnus, you know, like when I see his reviews, I feel like we have similar perspectives on films. So if he didn't like it, then I'm definitely not gonna like it. And I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, but you should judge your opinion. You should base it on your own opinion and give it a shot." Thing is, well, for one, I don't have the money to just go out to the theaters and just watch a movie. I wish I did, maybe one day, but yeah, like I tend to trust his reviews, and there's some things that I don't trust. Like for example, he did mention that sort of like the second Transformers film, but I personally didn't like it. I think it's horrible. Even despite Prime being like the best part of the film, I still didn't like that movie. Like no matter what. So like we have our differences here and there, but for the majority of his reviews, from what I've seen, we tend to have similar taste. Anyway, enough yapping. Let's just see what Neurotic has to say.
You know I loved it, but it seems like right now a lot of people seem to be loving it. As of
And by the way, before we continue, please go and follow Neurotic. I will link his YouTube channel down below. And yes, I will be pausing a lot. So if you don't like it, go watch the original video. All right, let's get started.
this moment, it's got an 88% certified fresh Rotten Tomato critic rating.
What a fun movie. This is absolutely the sweetest film I've ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Now, it's the #1 movie in the world, 2 weeks in a row.
Yes, hell yeah!
Is it though?
There's something about this film that feels extra special.
It all started with Fantastic Four, and the Marvel fans know that. That's what created what we know as the Marvel Universe, were these characters. And the fact that there have been many attempts.
There's a handful of fascists that I would just throw into outer space. That's what I would do.
Everything they're working on is terrible and is not very good.
This concept of superhero fatigue in one way is real because there have been a lot of superhero movies that maybe haven't been up to what they should have been or what the audience wanted. I think there's, mediocre movie fatigue.
Nerderotic.com.
And that's basically the issue. Like James Gunn said, it's mediocre film fatigue. That's basically what it is. Ultimately, it has nothing to do with people not liking superhero films. I mean, that makes no sense. I mean, look at what happened with Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, it made billions. I think it almost made $2 billion. I actually don't remember, but point is, they make money. It has nothing to do with superhero fatigue. Films are just not good. That it's just as simple as that. And he even mentioned in his interview that a lot of directors, they're afraid to take risks, which I do agree. I think his attempt for Superman, even though I personally don't like it, it's not my Superman. People like it, and really, that's what matters. As long as some people like it, that's what matters, right? But the issue is a lot of normies didn't really care for it. And it's evident because, especially internationally, it did poorly. Superman did poorly, and that's just a fact. All right, let's keep on.
Fantastic Four first steps. This is a devastating blow to Kevin Feige's regime. Now, I want to preface this by stating specifically to anybody from Disney, Marvel, or Hollywood, or the Access Media who may be watching out there, it's not like we haven't tried to warn you for years. But if anyone is in doubt that the Fantastic Four cratering in its second week isn't catastrophic at all, you don't have to listen to me. All you have to do is take a look at the current Access Media headlines and the meltdown from the Access Media shills. Normally, they're doing their best to cover for a questionable Disney Marvel failure, but it's not the case this time, for the most part anyway. Admittedly and unapologetically, I got a great deal of enjoyment watching the corporate legacy media and the influencers struggling to come to terms with the truth that they have been denying for years. Marvel is a damaged brand, and it was all self-inflicted, and this has already had a negative effect on DC, superheroes overall, because it's not just Marvel and DC, the theaters, and Hollywood. Just let this sink in. The 7th Dinosaur movie is going to soundly beat James Gunn's Superman and a Fantastic Four that is made and distributed by the company that actually owns them, Marvel. And now questions are openly being asked like, how did we get here?
I mean, dude, I hate the media sometimes. I really do. It's so obvious why you're in this situation. It's because you're spreading propaganda. You're spreading political messaging. Nobody cares about that. Okay? Nobody cares. We just want good entertainment. That's all we care about. That's it. That's all we want. We don't want any of this nonsense that they're trying to spew. And you guys know what it is. I don't need to say it. It's so stupid. They know exactly why they're in this situation. They're just trying to play dumb. You're serious?
You serious?
Is this superhero fatigue?
Yes. I know.
No.
And my favorite, maybe it's time to blame the audience.
What? What the f?
And we'll get to all of that, but let's start with the box office. And we have a lot to choose from with our analysis. Forbes Fantastic Four box office in free fall, down 80% from last week. Explaining that 80% drop from Variety, Fantastic Four braces for big second week drop. Fantastic Four grossed $11.7 million domestically in its second Friday on the big screen, marking a devastating 80% drop from its debut Friday to Friday. Collider, the Fantastic Four first step, falters at the domestic box office. The Wrap, Fantastic Four sinks 66% from box office opening weekend despite strong reception. Marvel's latest film isn't holding as well as Superman. Again from The Wrap, Fantastic Four stays #1 but tumbles 66% to $40 million at the box office. The always reliable comicbook.com, Fantastic Four wins box office in second weekend, but there's bad news. And my personal favorite from IndieWire, and yes, that looks like Iowan Grufford, but it's actually Johan Griffith because only the Welsh could spell like that, recalls the Fantastic Four that made money. We were being true to the comic. While First Step suffered an unexpected blow at the box office this weekend, 20 years ago, a quartet of superheroes found success with audiences. But we're going to go with Variety's Fantastic Four craters by 66% in second weekend. Heavens to Murgatroyd, they use the word crater, how hyperbolic. Marvel's first family might not save the day after all. The Fantastic Four First Steps is quickly losing steam in its second weekend, signaling the comic book adventure isn't connecting at the box office beyond the film's core demographic of superhero fans. And apologies for stating the obvious, but let's make this clear distinction now. There are superhero fans and comic book fans, and while there's still a little crossover, they are now, strangely enough, two separate entities. Heading into FF's second weekend, the box office analysts were projecting a 40 to 45 million opening.
Now, me personally, I am a casual, but I understand both sides. The comic book fans and he said movie fans, right? Let me replay that. Hold on.
A little crossover, they are now, strangely enough, two comic book fans, and while there's still a little crossover, they are now strange.
Okay, I don't know why the playback button's not up.
And comic. But let's make this clear distinction now. There are superhero fans and comic book fans, and while there's still a little crossover, they are now, strangely enough, two separate entities. Heading into FF's second weekend, the box office analysts were projecting a 40 to 40.
And I feel like it's very evident recently, especially with Fantastic Four and Superman. I mean, dude, those two films are so divided. And even Thunderbolts, I would argue. Because you got people that don't like it, you got people that do like it. And a lot of it, you could say, comes down to, like, I guess in Superman's case, the Zack Snyder fans and the James Gunn fans. Or just comic book accurate Superman fans. Which, at this point, I don't even think it matters. Like, the word comic book accurate, I feel like that doesn't really mean anything because things could be comic book accurate but not do well. And then vice versa, when it's not comic book accurate, I mean, the best example of this is the Dark Knight trilogies. They're not comic book accurate, yet they did great. They performed so well. So I feel like just because something is not comic book accurate, that doesn't mean that it's automatically going to be amazing.
45 million opening weekend, and now it looks like it's just going to be a 40 million opening weekend, a 66% drop, which some will spin is on the high end of the low end, and this is the kind of bullshit we have to deal with. Like Deadline, who seems to take a little bit of exception with the usage of the word crater by their comrades over at Variety, by the way. Both of these Access Media rags are owned by the same company, Penske Media. Craters is a big word, as 60 percentile drops are par for the course. We're wrong. Now, we can't go without comparing it to Superman, which dropped only 53% from its very whelming $125 million opening, still, it's held on pretty good. This painful fall is surprising for the Fantastic Four because the Marvel tentpole has the benefit of positive reviews and word of mouth. Well, we'll get to that, as well as a clear runway.
Yeah, because I've noticed that word of mouth, though, especially with these films recently, they haven't been doing well. I mean, Ballerina, a lot of people say was really good. Once again, people didn't give it a shot. Same thing with Fantastic Four. People were saying it was good or it was okay. People are still not giving it a shot. Superman, same thing. Hey, word of mouth isn't enough anymore. I think people are just sick and tired of mediocre films. It has to be fantastic. It has to be amazing. It has to be a masterpiece. It has to be. I feel like that's the only way to get people to sit in the theaters. It has to be. There's just no other way. It can't just be mediocre. It can't just be mid. It can't just be okay. A Superman film should not be okay. It should be amazing. Okay, that's just a fact. It should be amazing. It should be a must-watch. A lot of these films are not a must-watch.
In terms of competition. Well, that part is true, and that's bad news for Hollywood because while the summer movie season isn't over, the summer tentpole season is. Fantastic Four Missteps, being on the high end of the low end, beats out things like The Marvels, which was down 78% in its second weekend. Captain America Black New World was down 68% in its second weekend, which is awfully close to Fantastic Four. Ant-Man Quantumania was down 70% in its second weekend, and Thor Love and Blunder was down 67%. But not to worry, because according to Variety, The First Steps, the movie's actually called First Steps, is pacing to outgross this year's prior theatrical disappointments. I think the word you meant to use there was flops, outgrossing Captain African American and Thunderbolts. So that makes Fantastic Four First Steps not only the best Disney Marvel flop of the year, it's the highest grossing box office bomb of the year. See, I can play the spin game too. You're the tallest midget, you're the smartest retard. And this
exactly, like, just because he's doing the best for this year, that doesn't really mean anything, because a lot of films, and not just superhero films, but films in general, are not doing well in the box office. So it doesn't really say much. It really doesn't. So it's such a weird thing to say.
is a rare day because I agree with Paul Tassi on Forbes when he says it's difficult to spin this. I would also agree with him when he says this is far from a roaring "we're back" war cry, which Disney Marvel absolutely, positively needed. He continues, it's not quite clear what happened here. Actually, Paul, it is, but we'll let you have your say. Clear. The film reviewed well among critics, and 86%, well, that's par for the course, really well among fans at 92% on Rotten Tomatoes. A site where the audience score outside of television is incredible since the Captain Marvel fiasco, a site that has the Thunderbolts rated higher than Iron Man, and the Marvels with an audience score of 79%.
Too damn high.
Slightly, but not much more credible would be IMDb's 7.4 out of 10, and Metacritic has it as 6.7. Anyway, back to Paul, but as we've seen, that doesn't quite matter, and I'm glad he's come to terms with that fact. Now he brings up a film
finally,
we just mentioned.
It took these people long enough to realize that shit don't matter. Like, we've been saying this for years. Like, just because you guys say that, oh, it's amazing, you should watch it, that doesn't mean it's actually amazing and that it's going to force people to go watch these films. That just doesn't matter.
That has almost identical critics and audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes. Thunderbolts, a self-admitted miss by Marvel. That's strange. I seem to recall Disney CEO Bob Iger saying this just a few months ago.
Frankly, we've all admitted to ourselves that by bringing Marvel, by consolidating a bit and having Marvel focus much more on their films, we believe it will result in better quality, and I think the first and best example is Thunderbolts.
And frankly, in diluted focus, they were not as good. Quantity not as high as quantity in our case. Diluted. Quantity attention needs attention.
Please stop.
Shut up, Bob. Just a reminder, we're a little over halfway through the year, and this is the third major Marvel film, the sixth major Marvel project. They just released another animated series on D+ this week, Eyes of Wakanda, and we have one more show to go, Wonder Man, based on the comic book character.
What the hell is Wonder Man? What? Oh, they race swap him? What a surprise. But yeah, damn, I lost my train of thought. God damn it. What was I gonna say? I lost it, damn it.
Character, and I have to say, the resemblance is uncanny. And this brings us to the question of why the Fantastic Four First Steps failed, something that's perplexing those influencers and Access Media members. It's a mystery wrapped inside an enigma. According to box office analyst Jeff Block, Fantastic Four is not a top-tier Marvel franchise. Never has been. Remember, this ramps up into the Avengers. That's the real payoff. All right, considering that the top-tier characters in Marvel have either been killed off, not recast, or completely neutered, I have a question for you, Jeff Block, and everyone in the audience. Who are the Avengers? And they don't own their biggest character, Spider-Man. I would disrespectfully disagree.
It all started with Fantastic Four, and the Marvel fans know that.
The answer to this mystery, my friends, is really quite simple. Miscasting and overexposed Pedro Pascal as Marvel's smartest man, Reed Richards, a female Silver Surfer, and nerfing one
Not a great plan. Not a great plan. I mean, yeah, dude, they're just doing a lot of dumb decisions. Like the best. Really, the reason why I didn't want to watch this film, Fantastic Four, is the female Silver Surfer. Why you can't bring the actual Silver Surfer? Like, it's not that hard. Give people what they want. Why is it so hard to understand that? And then you guys are going to make all the money in the world if you do just that. But I don't know. I guess they like losing money. They like losing money. I feel like that's the only explanation at this point. I don't know what else it could be. I mean, maybe they're on a contract, I guess. It's so... They're just so dumb. Really, it's so stupid.
Of Marvel's greatest villains, Galactus, in a third act that goes full MCU, ruined any chances of this film succeeding. Now, would this film have done better with a properly cast Reed and a properly cast male Silver Surfer? Yes, with some obvious tweaks to the script. And no, I'm not going to give Marvel credit for lowering the bar so much that we're just happy Johnny Storm isn't gay. As far as ramping up to whoever the hell the Avengers are, it's clear not that many people care anymore. And as far as that good word of mouth is concerned, well, that 66% drop says otherwise. And it's not like that drop was off.
In fact, that's one of the reasons why I am not looking forward to Doomsday. I'm not, because a lot of the characters that they introduced so far, from what phases... 5 to 6 or whatever, I lost count. But a lot of those characters, I don't give a flying F about. I don't care. I don't care about Iron Shit. Who cares about Iron Shit, bro? And yes, I'm calling her Iron Shit. I don't care. Who cares about her, bro? Who cares about Miss Marvel? Who cares about Marvel? Who cares about the chick, I forgot her name, but who cares about those people, bro? Who cares? I want my Spider-Man. I want my Hulk. I want my Thors. I want characters that I care about. A lot of these characters I don't care about. I really don't. So I'm not excited for Doomsday. I'm not. I'm intrigued to see what they do, but in terms of the bar, it's very low. Very, very low for me. So yeah. Again, we'll see what they do.
A good first weekend, it was off a very mediocre one. And no, I'm not going to let this particular subject go because it ended up to be true. Gender swapping the Silver Surfer was an incredibly dumb decision made by a lot of highly paid people, including Kevin Feige, who should be fired for it because they should know better than anyone else that one bad casting decision can kill your project in the crib. And here we are. Again, now, was it a big reason this movie failed? Yes. Was it the only reason? No. Pedro Pascal fatigue is real, especially when we're talking about a guy who's never been a box office draw. I don't think I'm going out on a limb by saying he immediately turns off a large portion of the potential audience into...
Now, me personally, I disagree. I didn't care. Granted, I do agree that he's definitely miscasted as Reed Richards. I don't think he's Reed Richards at all. But I don't think this is the biggest factor. For me, at least, the biggest factor is definitely the Silver Surfer. Why, bro? Just why? Just why? Why would you do that? Why? Another factor for me was the media itself. Like Variety. They were rage baiting a lot of people. And it actually worked. Because it actually worked on me. They were the ones that said, oh, it's filled with gender politics with Sue Storm. Johnny is going to be sensitive towards people's feelings, and he's going to be he's not going to be a womanizer, even though that's his whole fucking character. He's supposed to be a womanizer. He's supposed to be a ladies' man. He's supposed to be an arrogant dick. Yet they wanted to tone it down for some reason. And they also had they also said that Reed Richards and The Thing, they were gonna have a romantic past or whatever. Now, me personally, I didn't think that was true, but still, you get what I'm trying to say. Like, they were rage beating the living crap out of a lot of people, and it actually worked on people like me. Because I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the things that they mentioned, aside from the whole Reed Richards and The thing, like, I don't think that would really make sense. Aside from that, like, I felt like a lot of the things they were saying is not far-fetched, especially with the Johnny Storm thing and Sue Storm. And quite frankly, this is just a conspiracy theory. I personally think that they were gonna go with that direction, and maybe the reshots that they done, maybe it was because of that. They were redoing a lot of things and changing things here and there. I mean, it gotta be, bro, because there's no way that all of a sudden it got toned down. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they got rid of a few scenes too, but unless I'm thinking about Superman, because I know Superman, they got rid of 15 or 20 minutes of that film because it was too goofy. Yeah, it was still goofy no matter what. So I don't know. All right, let's keep.
Think otherwise is just naive. Although when we see him again in Avengers Doomsday, I think it will be unintentionally hilarious and meta if they show the Council of Reeds, which will be the Council of Pedros. And while I credit Disney Marvel for finally giving Jack Kirby the credit he deserved decades ago in your films, with that tribute at the end, I would say you would show him more respect by actually adapting his characters as he intended. Garrett, roll out Peter Jackson.
We didn't want to put any of our own baggage. I mean, we had no interest in putting our messages into this movie, but we thought that we should honor Tolkien by putting his messages into it.
Words every single creative should internalize before taking on somebody else's work. But there is another theory out there put up by social media influencer John Roca the Outlaw. Kindred spirit. I used to be one of those. Some people might not want to hear this, but it might be time to stop putting all the blame on the studios or creators for underperforming movies. Well, who is there left to blame? It might be time to start looking at the intelligence level of the moviegoers.
What? Bronny!
Oh, Bronny now has 3 plies.
That's lit. Idiot! Oh, what a loser!
Now, Johnny boy, it looks like you're frustrated because a large portion of the public doesn't agree with your opinion. But it seems you, well, maybe have never known or at least forgotten the same thing the studios have in Hollywood. The customer is always right, whether you like it or not. As far as the bigger picture is concerned, and again, this shouldn't surprise me, but it does, social media influencers are asking, how did we get here? My time to shine. Hello, queries. Fantastic Four First Steps is expected to have a huge drop this weekend despite great reviews and cinema score. What is going on with Marvel?
Uh-oh, retard alert! Retard alert, class!
With respect to the returning subscribers, you've probably heard this all before, but for the new ones, welcome who haven't. I'll recap this, but try to keep it brief. It turns out it wasn't a good idea to kill Tony Stark and kill or age out Steve Rogers. Turns out it wasn't a good idea to make Thor a himbo turn Hulk.
I kind of disagree. I do think killing off Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, I think that was fine because they actually did it right. I thought that their deaths were pretty good. What I don't think is right is bringing back Robert Downey Jr. to play as Doom. I think that's really stupid. And supposedly Steve or Chris Evans, he's coming back to play as Hydra or Hydra, like Captain America or Nazi Captain, whatever the hell. I don't even know what's going on anymore. Point is, killing those characters were fine. Bringing them back, I don't think is not a great plan. Now, I do agree that they completely messed up Hulk. They messed up Thor. Dude, what are they doing? Like dead ass, what are they doing? Is it really that difficult to give us a really good, awesome Hulk film? I don't think it's that hard. I really don't. He's like one of the most popular Marvel characters of all time. It's easy money. Yeah, they chose to tone him down for whatever reason. Makes no sense. And then Thor, they make him so stupid, so dumb, goofy. What are they doing, bro? Like, I ask myself this all the time. What the hell are they doing? What are they doing to these characters, bro? I don't get
into
it.
Mark Ruffalo and not recast T'Challa. Turns out it wasn't very forward thinking to bypass decades of comic books that sold in the millions to adapt canceled comic books that sold in the thousands. Turns out it was downright retarded to bring Kang into the MCU, and everything that preceded his appearance was his will canonically. And then you can the character, making it all for naught. Turns out it was ill-advised to spam a bunch of crap content for which even if half of it was good, you wouldn't have this problem. And it was bending the knee to identity politics and making the deliberate decision to introduce more female characters than male characters, bringing us the MCU, which led to a half a decade of projects that were mostly disappointments, underperformers, bombs, or outright flops. And my friends, that is only the tip of the Disney Marvel failure iceberg. And just to pile on a little bit more, it probably doesn't help that Deadpool creator Rob Liefeld is out there roasting Kevin Feige, admittedly for not inviting him to a party, but I'm here for it. Marvel used to make films that expanded the base with excitement that picked up the general public. The cast was poorly served, it was also poorly cast by a poor script and dodgy FX. Galactus' second act is far superior to the third act. Then he says Marvel is suffering from Feige fatigue, which he got from my buddy Paulie at Latino Slant. And I'm guessing it doesn't help that the one guy who's created something pretty good in the last few years for Marvel, Bo DeMeo, who was ousted from X-Men 97 for, among other things, clapping back against the VP.
Really? I did not know that. That's crazy. So, if they do a season 2, that means it's going to be trash, right? Is that what they're insinuating? Huh. And I haven't finished season 1, but so far from what I've seen is actually pretty good. I might watch it or I might complete it. But like, dude, if they're making a season 2 and the same director or writer that this season 1 is not a part of it, I don't want it. Plain and simple, I don't want
of Marvel Animation, and big surprise, she's got a hyphenated name, Dana Vasquez Ebahar, who asked him to turn off his comic collector brain because that's the last person you want doing your comic book adaptation. Bo DeMeo is saying Marvel Studios has a major leadership problem, an even bigger brand issue, and is just generally out of sync with its core audience. And I couldn't agree more, because the House of Mouse subsidiary Marvel Studios is now facing the very harsh reality that they do indeed have catastrophic and possibly irreversible brand damage. But it's not limited to them. This brings us back to the sage, the scholar whose wisdom outshines us all, particularly when he was questioning the intelligence of moviegoers who also probably make up the majority of the audience for his channel, John Roca, who follows up that statement with this: if a phenomenally stupid film like Jurassic World Rebirth can crush films like Superman and Fantastic Four at the box office, then something might be wrong with all of us. Speak for yourself, and not the studios or the creatives. Okay, a lot to unpack there, but thanks for admitting that Superman and Fantastic Four are underperforming. And this brings us to the dreaded subject of superhero fatigue, which will immediately be followed up with bad movie fatigue, or Hollywood fatigue, or woke Hollywood fatigue, or Pedro Pascal fatigue, or fatigue, or Feige fatigue. Is it one of those things, some of those things, or all of those things? Yes, maybe, I don't know, time will tell. Bottom line, DC and Marvel both didn't do themselves any favors by releasing a bunch of bad movies that flopped, despite the is dumb, but at least it understood the assignment. And that's probably why the 7th dinosaur movie is curb stomping 2 superhero movies that, despite how I feel about them, people generally seem to like, that just so happen to be underperforming. But before throwing shade at Jurassic World fans, I think we may want to consider that Fantastic Four and Superman aren't exactly high art or great films.
Is there anything here that catches your eye?
No.
Does that one work?
No.
Is this no good?
No.
Does it work on any level for you?
No.
Does it have artistic merit?
No.
So all of this is terrible?
Well, frankly, yes.
Now, obviously, the Fantastic Four is going to do far worse, and let this sink in. None of the 3 Marvel films released this year are going to end up in the top 5 box office performers. Oh, and this just...
Wow, what a surprise. What not giving people what they want equals barely making profit.
Came in, the Fantastic Four actually performed worse with only a $38 million weekend and a 67% drop. Oof. And as far as Superman is concerned, it's definitely going to win the superhero race this year, and one could argue it should have won July. And it didn't. Now, there's the argument out there that the $800 million film is the new $1 billion film, but considering that Superman's not going to hit that, you might want to adjust those numbers. And one could blame ticket prices being too high, oversaturating the market, diminishing returns, China not being a factor anymore, or Trump. And obviously, aside from blaming Trump, those are all valid arguments. And maybe eventually the studios are going to finally realize that the general audience has kind of moved on from superheroes and you need to bring those budgets down. But unless you find some magic pool of talent out there that all of a sudden knows how to write good stories in Hollywood and more importantly knows how to adapt comic books, I'm not sure if this is going to get fixed. Let's be real, Warner Brothers has had plenty of time over the decades to figure this problem out and they've never consistently done it. And Kevin Feige, specifically the one who has created all the problems for Marvel, has had a half decade to fix them and hasn't. So I don't know how anybody expects him to do it in the future.
Exactly.
Sure, Spider-Man is coming. The costume looks great and it looks like that movie's going to make a lot of money. Unfortunately for Kevin Feige, it's a Sony production. Again, this isn't just a problem for superheroes.
And again, what a surprise, Spider-Man making money. Again, Spider-Man's so popular. Same with Batman. Batman made money. It's because it's so popular. But it's not just because they're popular, it's because they're done right. They're done right. Again, it's not hard to do. It's not hard to make a good Hulk movie. It's not hard to do a good Wolverine movie. It's not hard to do a good Superman movie. You just have to do it right.
It's a problem for the theaters and Hollywood. I think we can all agree it hasn't really been a great year for movies in the theater. But so much for Survive Until 25. We have now gone through the era of the woke buster, the flop buster, and now we are firmly in the era of the slop buster.
Nerderotic.com.
That is so sad. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, follow Nervotic, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.